All right, welcome everybody to the 24th episode of the Advisor Tech Book Live podcast. My guest on today's podcast is Taylen Sather of Aryze Design. Welcome, Taylen.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Yeah,
I've been plugging you on the socials and in my books, and hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully, all good things have come to you. What would you consider your area of expertise?
That's a great question. So I think anything that falls between websites, marketing, and design for financial advisors. So anything from an advisor starting out with us, doing some branding work, shifting over into the websites, and then eventually getting them into some marketing and design to help support that website in their marketing efforts. So yeah.
What's the most painful problem you feel like you're solving?
The most painful problem, I think it would probably tie into the websites. I think, yeah, a lot of the advisors that we come or that come to us and work with us tend to just have inconsistent websites that aren't conversion optimized. A lot of the times they're really, really slow. So that's a big pain point there. They don't really tell a story. So some of that story brand is really huge, making sure that we identify, the pain points, the benefits, and then everything in between. And so I think websites are the biggest pain point that we solve for a lot of advisors. I think the branding and marketing just comes and ties into that. But yeah, I think a lot of advisors need a bit of a refresh on the website, and that can help them with their marketing efforts, right? Like you've been talking lots about the organic strategies lately.
Yep.
Uh, and I think that those are all great. And I think outbound strategy can also be really useful, inbound and outbound. Um, but it doesn't do a whole lot of good if the people are ultimately landing on the website and that website isn't conversion optimized. So I think that would be the biggest pain point that we deal with for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. So a lot of the I think a lot of advisors have looked for like easy solutions. So we've ended up with a lot of cookie cutter websites, templates.
Totally.
Every advisor's website has the same images of the same couples on the same beaches, same lighthouses. How do you help advisors brand in a way that stands out
Right.
amidst the thousands of websites that all look the same?
Yeah, for sure. I think a big part of that too is like you say, there's a lot of DIY, but there's also just a lot that's evolved over the last honestly over the last 5 to 10 years. Like even the web designers or the platforms that are available in the space have evolved. Like a lot of people are still on WordPress, and WordPress I feel is getting a little updated on that front. And so even just in web design, it's shifted a lot. The advisors that we work with, obviously branding is a huge part of it, right? So making sure that we've got, their colors, imagery that reflects them. It's not all just stock imagery. Making sure we've got, patterns, icons, everything that kind of reflects them on the branding front. And then I think like messaging is a huge part of the website too. I think a lot of advisors, maybe have a good website. I shouldn't say a lot of advisors have a good website. There are some that have a good website, but I think the messaging could also be cleaned up. Oftentimes, the SEO is lacking. We could get into the AEO discussion as well. But I think that's a huge part of it too, right? Either you're trying to keyword stuff or you're trying to say too much like corporate jargon, or there's just lots of different ways that you can kind of mess up that messaging on the website too. So I think branding, messaging, and then making sure that we have like a good website, kind of beneath the hood, right? So making sure that it's
Yeah.
optimized underneath the hood for sure. Yeah.
I think what I'm learning more and more right now is that like first principles or just the basic concepts of marketing, branding, human connection, conversations, trust, sales,
Yeah.
like all these things have stayed the same. And the reality is like AI has come to the forefront. I kind of feel like AI is almost like the COVID of 2020. It's like changing everything,
Yeah.
but in a way, it's been super interesting to watch this transition, especially like actually on the market. So like gold and silver are just skyrocketing right now. Bitcoin is dropping, and then the market has done decent, but like not as well as the real assets.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that the same thing's happening with I don't know what to call it. I mean, AI content, AI writing, AI pictures, AI videos. Um,
And it can
the
hurt you
plat,
too. Like on the SEO front, it can definitely hurt you, right? If you
yeah,
just purely use ChatGPT, it's not going to do you much good. The AI detectors are getting better and better too, right? So using or relying purely on AI is not the way to do it. Just as a side note there.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, and the platforms are even like AI is being used to combat AI. Like
Yeah.
LinkedIn is really cracking down. I got a warning a couple days ago from LinkedIn and it said, we've recognized activity on your profile that seems like it's automated or something.
Oh,
It was just because I've actually had my LinkedIn taken down in the past for a day, and it was because I was using a Chrome extension.
oh.
Um, but LinkedIn is like even beyond the Chrome extensions, they're like cracking down on any behavior that appears like it's automated behavior. So I will manually like click connect on 20 or 30 profiles a day, and
Yeah.
it's thinking that that's automated because most normal people don't try to connect with 20 or 30 people a day. Um,
Says something about you, I guess, but no.
I'm not normal. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
there
true.
you go. Yeah, no. No, for sure. I think, yeah, AI is it's shifting things. Like I think there's more and more AI solutions, even yeah, in the website space, in the marketing space. More people are trying to rely on it, and for good reason. Like they want to offload their time, and they want to make things better where they can't. But oftentimes, it can still detriment your brand or your website, whatever the case. I think it's the same thing with social media too. More and more people are trying to look for more organic content rather than just like pure information, shove it down your throat, and just read. But it's like I'm not actually reading what you put out there, and so I think it's really important to use your own voice, use your own tone. Again, that ties into that messaging conversation of like how do we balance some of the SEO and wanting to be found online, but also like talk to the proper clients that we're trying to talk to, and not just sound like a robot. So I think that yeah, AI is it's doing good things, but it's also doing some bad things, like you mentioned there too. So yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about organic growth for a
Mhm.
second. So what is your definition of organic growth? And then like what are the top 3 things that maybe your clients are doing organically or you're helping them do that are working?
Yeah, so organic growth just generally would refer to growth that's less paid. I mean, obviously you can pay for a website or things like that that can contribute to organic growth. But so the organic growth that we generally be seeing that's working quite well is even just the shift in the website, right? So you come and you work with us, your website's going to perform a lot faster. So instead of loading in 10 seconds, it loads in 2 to 2.5. So that will help reduce your bounce rate so more people stay on the website. I think blogging is still very relevant today. I think that there's a proper way of going about that and making sure that you've got the keywords, internal linking, back linking. Like there's lots that kind of go into that. So I think like blogging is still huge. I think social media is a really good avenue for organic growth. But again, it has to be done properly. And the more that I've been in the industry, the more that I find people just like to like put content out there, but they don't actually want to be social. And I think that there's a huge component that's missing. And when I talk about any one of these things, like whether it's the blog, the socials, or like a different avenue, you need people that are actually reading and engaging with your content. So, you could put a blog out there, but it does you no good if it's unsearchable and if there's nobody that's actually interacting with it and having engagement on there. And the same goes for socials, right? You can't just put social content out there and not go and like anybody's post, comment on anybody's post, share anybody's post. So I think a lot of the advisors we work with kind of get that a little mixed up when they're first working with us is like, hey, we're going to put these posts out there and all of a sudden we're going to see this insane amount of growth. And that's just not the case, right? You need to be actually active. The algorithm actually favors that activity. And that's a huge part of the organic growth. I don't know if that fully answers your question. I think I mentioned maybe two. I don't know if I mentioned three. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so like the
Yeah.
problem I see is advisors are trying to do way too many things.
Yes.
So I think the number one thing advisors need to do is cancel half their tech stack, cancel at least half of the things that they're doing that
Yeah.
are making no difference, and
Yes.
literally spend like half their day actually talking to prospects and clients.
Totally.
Um, I
Yeah.
I think that is what marketing is actually talking to people.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, like you can't just put content out there and think that people are just going to engage with it. I think there's few platforms that work that way. YouTube being, I think, one of them, where often you can see some of that growth without doing a whole lot of activity. But most other platforms, like even email newsletters, like I say, blogging, social media, any of these channels require a lot of effort and more than just actually posting content. I think the content needs to be good, needs to not be AI written, like you mentioned, but at the same time, like you need to be engaging with people. You need that human connection. in the advisory industry, like most people still would say referrals are their biggest source of leads, right?
Yep.
And so, what does that mean? That means that there's that human connection within those referrals. It's not to say referrals are wrong. People just want more predictability. Um, but you have to, kind of put the same level of care into into the socials, into the blogging, into the newsletters, into the, just day to day conversations. Um, than what's currently, being done. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
Mhm.
to hold like Ritholtz Wealth up as an example because it's like they've got a ton of bloggers, podcasters, authors, all
Yeah.
putting out enormous amounts of content. If an advisor's over here not putting out any content and all his clients are going and watching Ritholtz's content, they're gonna be like, well, we're gonna switch because we actually know what they're thinking about everything currently. So
Yeah.
how much of marketing is actually to your own current clients?
How much of marketing is to your own current clients? Um, that's a good question. I
Like
like
content, maybe content marketing specifically.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think you should leverage, the audience that you're currently in, and making sure that, again, you do take advantage. If you have an email newsletter, market to those people. If you have people on socials, that's great too. But yeah, like I say, too often people are just putting posts out there. And I think if you do have that follower base with the current clients, obviously that'll help on the referral end of things and client satisfaction and everything. There is still the need to find people outside of that realm. So I'd imagine it's a little bit of a 50-50 where you need current clients engaged, and then you need prospects to come through that. Like again, take blogging for example. If you just put a blog out there and it gets no traction, that's going to do nothing for you. If you put that in front of an email newsletter where you have, let's say, even 100 people, 100 clients that you're currently working with, and all of those clients go and engage on that blog will perform far better than if you just put the blog out there and only market that to the prospects, right? So your content has to be engaging to both clients and prospects, which
Yep.
you'd think would be the case either way. But I think it's a little bit of 50-50. You need that current active follower base to actually engage with you to get any traction outside of that base. So,
Yeah. No,
mhm.
and if your content is so good that your clients are actually like sending it to their friends, that's like true
Oh, yeah,
referability.
totally.
Um,
Yeah, no.
yeah. So let's talk about some specific platforms. I know you like Webflow for website design.
Yeah.
Why do you like Webflow?
Webflow suite. Yeah, Webflow's emerged in the last, I want to say, 7-ish years. WordPress was reliant on plugins. I've worked with all sorts of different web builders, right? I've worked in Squarespace, Wix, some of even the advisor ones too, like a 20 over 10 or FMG. Webflow is quite nice in that it's basically custom code. And so oftentimes that might scare an advisor away, but they have a design and a build mode. So once the website's actually complete and handed off to the advisor, it's easy enough for them to go and make edits. What that means for me is I can do anything on Webflow, which is really nice. So it's visualizing that code in a way that's super effective. There's a few other platforms out there that are notable, like a Framer, like a Wix Studio. I don't think they quite compare to Webflow in that Webflow has design and development. Framer would be more on the design end, and then like a Wix Studio would be more for like anybody that just kind of doesn't know what they're doing and wants to just jump into a platform that's stronger than like a WordPress. And I don't know that I'd make that case that Wix is just for clarity there. I don't think they're on the same playing field, but I do think Webflow is definitely up there. So yeah, Webflow would be one of them. That'd be the big one we do on websites. Again, not to say I won't use other platforms or do some coding here and there. But yeah, Webflow is definitely the nicest. We use quite a few other tools, like obviously on the design front, so, Figma, Adobe, all those tools are still quite effective. They're implementing all their own AI too. Canva for advisors is obviously a huge one, just so that it's more accessible to them.
Yeah.
Um, but then, other platforms like Kit, Monday.com, things like that we use too. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're in a bit of a yeah, we use a lot of technology ourselves. So
For sure. No, I do too. I mean, I'm
yeah,
active. I'm always like reviewing what I'm paying for on a monthly basis and canceling stuff because
yeah,
I actually think you can run a very good business with like just a handful, literally like five tools. You could make $1 million a month with five tools. Like you do all adding more technology usually like reduces how much money you make. It doesn't increase how much money you make.
yeah, no,
Um,
for sure. You need to utilize the tools well. Like if you're thinking about like, marketing tech, yeah, in the industry, something like HubSpot sounds really appealing, but when you look at the price tag with it and the amount of complexity it takes to actually get involved into a platform like HubSpot, it's just not feasible for a lot of advisors. And so they can work with a team that can help them implement that. But if they just use a platform like Kit, for example, it's just way simpler, way easier to work with. It still has sequences, it still has full customization on the design end of things. You can bulk email, etc. Right? So using these platforms and leveraging them based on your skill set and what you're able to do is like a bit of a different conversation than just like what's the best platform,
Yeah.
because it really depends on you and what you're looking for. So I think yeah, ties into that.
It's it's interesting. So my book, the first version, was all about taking the kids' map and picking my favorite in every category. And the second version that's coming out in a month or so is going to be not just one in every category, but like what's the very minimum set I need. Um, and
Yeah,
so it was interesting. Like last year, I think, well, the first time I published the list, I had like Beehive as my email newsletter platform of choice. And then within a few weeks, I was like, oh no, Substack is actually way better because Substack has a social network aspect to it. And I've
totally.
seen like, if you're like active on the social network part of Substack, you can actually drive a ton of traffic to your email newsletter.
Yeah,
And Beehive, as far as I'm aware, has like no social network between its
yeah,
newsletters,
yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah, no, Substack is definitely a good platform there too. We've worked with that a little bit as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let's say an advisor is either like brand new to the business or they're breaking away or they're just like literally desperate for revenue. What is the fastest way for them to get revenue, like within a couple weeks?
Within a couple weeks. Referrals would be the biggest thing. I think people honestly don't leverage it enough. So it sounds bad coming from a marketer, but referrals are actually your best bet, right? So doubling down and going to your clients and trying to get some of those referrals, putting in a referral program. If it's compliant friendly, you could definitely do it that way. I think yeah, getting leads fast is what everybody wants, but there's no right answer, and I should say there's a lot of right answers. There's no one right answer, right? And so I think referrals would be a huge piece. Obviously, a website's going to take you a bit of time, so that's not necessarily the way to go. I'd imagine if you want to go quick, go into outbound. But at the same time, I don't generally recommend outbound just because of the salesy nature of it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. If you want clients quick, outbound or referral network is going to be your best bet. I would say ads if it wasn't the advisor space, but unfortunately, it's so restrictive on the ads front
Interesting.
that you can't do super targeted ads. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I've been playing with ads on LinkedIn and YouTube. If
Okay.
if I take a video like my podcast with Shannon Rosick, for example, and I put $250 to promote it, I got like 319 new subscribers for
Oh,
$250. So
sweet.
like you can buy subscribers. Not that I'm recommending that. I think that a subscriber that's aware of you on like LinkedIn and then goes and clicks subscribe or is on your email list and clicks subscribe, um this actually would be a super fun collaboration project, is almost to like rank trust. So the reason client referrals work the best is because when you have an introduction from a person you trust to another person, the trust level is like, I'm just gonna make up a number, but like I don't know, 70-80%. Or
Yeah,
maybe we should say like closing rate. Like closing rates are higher because there's higher trust.
yeah,
um if you send someone a cold email who's never heard from you before, you're actually going into negative trust territory, because now you've spammed them and they already have an inbox full of spam. And so now you've identified yourself as a spammer and you've actually lost credibility in their eyes.
yeah,
So I feel like there's almost like a range of trust, and you just have to work down, obviously, an introduction through another trusted person between two people is the best.
yeah. And the reason why I say referrals there too is because it requires no upfront work. I think like if you're a brand new advisor or if you're an advisor that's, got kind of a wish-washy brand or website, I think the first thing that you do is go and consolidate your brand, make it much better, solidify that, make that, look a lot better. Then get into the website, make sure that you have like your email sequencing set up. So if people want to find you through, the website, they can get a lead magnet and then get sequencing going out. I guess it's just like a lot of the things that you need for groundwork or foundational work before you get into all the different marketing avenues. Once you have those, I think it's a lot easier to build the trust. But yeah, like if you're trying to go for a quick win, I think referrals are definitely the way to go. If you're looking for something more long term that will pay off consistently, that organic growth is going to be a huge part. You just need that foundation set before getting too far into it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's talk numbers for a bit to make
Yeah.
this a bit more real. I know lots of advisors that have paid 10 grand for a website. I know one advisor that's paid up to 50 grand for a website,
Okay. Yeah.
um and obviously others have paid, even more than that.
Mhm.
Um I believe the first website I did with you was 2500. So how are you able to charge 2500 when someone else would charge 10K for an equivalent website?
I think, well, first to start off, I think our prices have shifted. The
Good.
2,500,
I'm glad to hear.
yeah, it's definitely on the smaller end of things and was a lot simpler of a website. That was more of a landing page. I think the 10 grand mark is more realistic for your average advisor, just even in the industry prices that I've seen. Um, but yeah, like I think it really comes down to a lot of that stuff I was referring to earlier. So making sure that it's clear and good underneath the hood. So someone that charges, a grand or 2 grand, again, page specific. So if you're looking for something that's 2,500, you might be able to get a landing page with an agency like us, right? Um, but the difference would be if you're going and buying a template or something like that, even jumping on Squarespace, your website's going to be a lot slower. It's going to be, it's going to perform worse. Obviously, you don't have the expertise that's coming from an agency like ours, right? So working with financial advisors for the last 3 years with 70 plus clients, that's a huge piece of that. Um, and yeah, like it really comes down to the knowledge piece, right? So I have a few competitors in the industry too that'll build websites out, but they're not diving into it as deep as we would. So
Sure.
making sure that all of your your tagging is set up, like I say, your structure, your images are optimized to AVIF, SVG, or WebP files. Making sure you've got all your alternate text set. Surprisingly, I catch a lot of advisor websites that are skipping heading levels. So like H1, H2, H3, they'll start with like an H3, or jump to an H6, and that's a big no-no as well. And so I think it really comes down to the knowledge behind the agency and what they're offering. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, so like with the analytics, I know you set me up with Google Analytics, but Google Analytics is a bit overwhelming if you don't know how to navigate it. I think I tried something called, is it Fathom Analytics? It's just a
Okay.
bit simpler and easier to use.
Mhm.
Um, have you heard of that or not? You
I don't
typically just go with Google.
Yeah, so Google tools are a huge piece. I think it's just easy to set up. Typically, we would film like a quick Loom for people so that they have a bit of an understanding of how to use analytics.
Yeah.
The three that we tend to plug people into is Tag Manager Analytics and Search Console, and that'll give you a good idea of some of your website health. I think there's a lot of tools though that are coming out and are a lot better, like even like a SEMrush. If you can afford to pay for a SEMrush, that's huge, and gives you a lot more than just like how long are people on your website? What are they engaging at? Are they doing the right kinds of things? Tools like that definitely help. So I'd say, yeah, for sure, take a look at those different tools. Webflow even has Webflow Optimize. I believe that's what it's called these days. It might have changed, but I'm pretty sure it's Webflow Optimize, and that's a big piece too. It's just a little more expensive. So again, it comes down to what are you willing to spend, and what is the ROI for that spend as well. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, I
Mhm.
don't wrap up with one final question, and this one is about personal brands versus firm brands.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I mean, almost every company now has some sort of personal brand attached to it, like
Yeah.
Microsoft, Bill Gates, Jobs, or Steve Jobs, Apple, that kind of thing. Um, Kitses.com, obviously, like downtownjoshbrown.com. So like just this week, I went out and bought joemoss.live, which is
Yeah.
joemoss.com was taken. What's the benefit of having a named brand and website, and then having a firm branded website, like my brand being
Yeah.
Advisor Tech Book?
I think the biggest piece is that connection that you were referring to earlier. Even for myself, like we are a team of three now, looking to expand to a team of four. And my name is always tied to Aryze Design,
Yep.
which is definitely a good thing. And I could tie or branch out into Taylen Sather, .ca or something or .com. And that would be huge for us. I think it's because people they see that connection, they know who that person is, and they want to work with that person as opposed to the actual business itself. And so often I find myself trying to detach Taylen from Aryze just a little bit so that people are like, okay to work with some of the people that are on our team. But I think that that's the biggest culprit there is just the relatability and connection that they're looking for. Even like LinkedIn, right? A personal page versus a corporate page, your personal page will perform better
Yeah.
nearly every time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for
So,
sure.
I mean, in a way, humans trust humans more than humans trust
Yeah,
brands, company
yeah,
brands. And a company brand only has as much trust as the human has. So, like,
it's,
nobody's going to trust Advisor Tech Book unless they trust me, which is questionable at times. But um,
yeah, it's a,
it is super interesting. I mean, I know like Peter Maluk at Creative Planning has really worked on his personal brand. He's even now doing like video podcast interviews, like he just did one with Tony Robbins. Um, I think that I think we'll see more and more personal brands even now as like AI is taking off, just because people need to know that they're listening to a real human.
yes. Yeah, especially with AI avatars and everything too. Hey, people
Yeah,
might start branching off and trying to create their AI fictional personal brands there too. So I'll have to watch out for that. But otherwise, I totally agree. Personal brands are huge, and I think that's definitely a good growth opportunity for a lot of advisors out there. So
yeah,
yeah,
sweet.
sure.
Well, you're one of the best in my book. If an advisor's listening to this and is interested in working with you, what's the best way to find you?
For sure. Head to aryzedesign.com. So that's ARYZE and then design.com. And then just click the book a free assessment and we'll have a chat and see if we're a fit. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today's podcast.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, talk to you later. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.